Hello and welcome back to my channel. This is Andy in Singapore. If you haven't done so, I'd like to remind you to like and subscribe to my channel because I need all the support that I can get from you. Thank you very much. In today's video, we are going to do an in-depth review of this watch here. This is the Casio Edifice EFS-S570D. In my opinion, this watch should be rightfully called the CasiOak instead of the GA2100. Because it really looks more similar to the Royal Oak, more so than the resin model. This is an all-metal watch, that means stainless steel of course. And this is not a mix of analog digital display, this is a full analog chronograph. Now to me this is a really interesting watch, it's got a whole lot going on for it. We're looking at a watch that is solar powered. Of course it's a chronograph. It's got sapphire glass with anti-reflective coating. It is also super slim. So in this line of Edifice watches, they call it the super slim watches. We've got two models in this lineup. We've got the EFS-S570D, which is the three-hander with a date function. The 570 is a chronograph, and they're both very thin, coming in at under 10 millimeters. So this chronograph is coming in around 9.8 millimeters, and this is pretty amazing. Launched sometime in late 2020, the EFS-S570D is a very under the radar model. I'm wondering why this is happening, because it's a really nice watch and a whole lot of features going on in this watch, and to top it off, it's not very expensive. So at the time of this review, the EFS-S570D has a street price of around $190. You can definitely get this one from our boutique, and this is where the watch was loaned in from. Alright, so let me just thank Eric from our boutique for so kindly and generously loaning me all these watches for my video. So previously we had three different colorways of the 570. We've got the standard stainless steel model with black dial. I think there was also an all gunmetal plated version, and then there was this blue bezel version. Late last year, sometime in November 2024, I think, Casio added two more colorways to the 570 model lineup. We have this one in a deep green dial, lovely looking emerald green dial, and there's also one that has a champagne dial. So these two new additions sort of sparked my interest in this watch. Now if the lens zoom in very slightly, let's take a closer look at the EFS-S570D. Let me just run you through the measurements and the dimensions of the watch. Billed as a large case watch, officially on Casio's website, this watch has a 44mm case size. So when I use my digital calipers to do the measurement, I started off with measuring from bumper to the crown here. This measurement left to right is 44.5 millimeters, but that's not the actual size of the watch. When I measured the bezel left to right, it came in at 40.5 millimeters. So on paper it seems like a big watch, but when you wear it, it doesn't feel like it is a full 44mm watch. It feels more like a 40 or 41 millimeter watch. The overall thickness of the watch is 9.8 millimeters, and that's the measurement from the base of the case back to the top of the flat sapphire crystal that sits just slightly proud of the bezel. We've got a crystal size of about 34 millimeters. In terms of overall build quality, I was very impressed by the finishing of this watch, especially on its watch case. So when I first handled the watch, this finishing here on the watch case just floored me. Even under macro lens, you can see that the finishing here is done really well. We've got beautiful vertical brushing on this octagonal bezel, and the brushing goes on to the top of the lux, and we've got the longitudinal brushing here at the case sides. And in between all the brush surfaces, we are looking at really nice polished chamfers. So at the lid of the bezel, as well as the edges of the case lux and the case sides here, you can see that we've got really nice polished surfaces. I'm not saying this is Saratsu polishing, but this is a really good mix between the nice brushing and the polishing found on this watch case. Here are my observations on the screws here found on the top of the case. Now I think these screws are decorative. They don't look like they are true legit screws because they line up perfectly. Alright, so they meet the case, or rather the bezel, at 90 degrees. And they meet perfectly at 90 degrees. So I think this is a giveaway sign that these screws are not real screws, but not a big deal, right? They just look good. So of course these screws together with the octagonal bezel, I think these are the reasons why many watch fans out there would have linked this one to some kind of royal oak look-alike. Now at the case back you can see the Edifice logo inscribed. There's nothing fanciful on the case back here, but I do believe that this is a sort of a pry open type of case back. So I believe from the start of this video until now I've been raving on and on about the good points of this watch. But when we talk about the bracelet, now first let's take a look at how it differs from the case. The bracelet is visibly different from the case in terms of color, finishing, quality. It almost looks as if the bracelet here came from another watch. So the brushing here found on the lugs, the case, this is totally different from the bracelet of the watch. We've got nice chamfers, very angular design, faceting on the watch case, but when we come to the bracelet here, you can see that the quality, the finishing is very different. We've also got this stem clasp, very basic, very low-end feeling kind of operation here. And not to mention we've got plenty of rattling going on. So overall I think this bracelet, it doesn't match the watch. And I think that's a shame. As it is, this bracelet is not the best, but still not a deal breaker, because when you wear the watch, I think the main focus will be on the watch head or watch case itself. And in terms of dial design, I am really loving this deep green dial here. I think this is the best looking dial among all 5 or 6 models of the EFS-S570D. Looks really good. We've got a hint of sun ray at the dial, so it depends on how you angle the watch to get in the amount of light play. I'm also liking the high contrast white markers and the white lume application here on the handset. Makes the watch very legible. At one glance you can look at the time, you can tell the time. All in all, this is just great design, great work by Casio. And of course I have to point out the fact that they've got a black date wheel for this model. Just have a look here, a black date wheel against a dark dial watch, and it doesn't stand out as much as a white date wheel, so it doesn't disrupt the flow and balance of the dial. I think this is the right way to do it. Zooming out for a staged wrist shot of the EFS-S570D on my 17cm wrist. This watch is slightly on the bigger side of things, but I wouldn't call it oversized. It definitely doesn't look cartoonish or a dinner plate on my wrist. There is actually a lug gap going on, but thanks to the female end link here, alright, it doesn't protrude too much, and I think it wears really well. Overall weight is about 130 grams with the bracelet unsized, so this is not going to be overly heavy. For today's size comparison, we compare the 570 versus the other CasiOak, the more famous CasiOak, and this is the GA2100. I got this recently, end of last year, and this is the rainbow brick version. So I guess these two watches, despite being 44mm or so, they don't wear overly big. Alright, so this is a mix of clever design features, alright, such as hidden lugs and the overall crystal and bezel size. I don't think these things lend to a larger watch feel when you're wearing. So in terms of thickness, Despite the GA2100 being a thin watch itself, the EFS-S570 goes even thinner at just under 10 millimeters. So we are looking at about 11.6 versus 9.8 millimeters in terms of thickness. Alright, and the difference is night and day. Alright, you can see very clearly that the Edifice is the much thinner watch. So overall, I think the EFS-S570 just ticks all the boxes for me. We've got all sorts of good stuff going on in this watch. We're looking at sapphire glass, solar powered, and not to mention this watch is ultra slim for a chronograph, under 10 millimeters, and this is quite something, alright, for a watch that is not overly expensive. So of course the bracelet here is not the best, but maybe there's a chance that there's a nice aftermarket rubber strap or something like that. And that was my full review of the Casio Edifice EFS-S570D. If you like this watch, if you like this video, remember to like and subscribe to my channel. This is Andy in Singapore together with George, Pixie and the Roly Poly guys. We'll see you soon. Bye bye.